Richard Sherman backlash teach us about America?
Well, I think America learned a couple things about the Richard Sherman backlash from specifically white America, just how they view young black men in America. Men such as Richard Sherman that have dreads and facial hair, and he was, his voice was loud, and he was really intense and passionate in that moment. And I think that reaction reflected really how America really views young black men.
Do you think any good can come out of the Richard Sherman post-game interview?
I think a lot of good will come out of that post-game interview because it opens up the dialogue for many different conversations. It opens up the dialogue for conversations for Black America, white America, just different things that's going on in people's mind, what they really see when they see a young black man, really the imagery that exists in someone's head, and they say, well, we connect that with a specific action, and typically it's a negative action when it comes to young black men. So I think it opens up the dialogue for many different conversations to teach us that how we look and how we judge young black men is not really based upon facts and information. It's based upon imagery that we have in our head that we see.
In your opinion, how does the media play into how Americans view young black men?
I think the media, TV as a whole, plays a huge part in how America views young black men, because you see different images on the news, or you see different images on TV shows, specifically the First 48, a show that runs pretty much all day, and you see it constantly. And in a lot of people's mind, this is what's happening when they see a young black man. They think this is going to happen to them. And that's not what's really happening out on the street when you talk about you passing a young black man in the community, or you walking down the street in town and you see a young black man. This is not what's happening. They're not attacking people, and specifically white America, but because these images pass often across TV and we see it all the time, the chances are it's not going to happen.
Tell me about your experience as a young black male in America and how you believe Americans view you.
As a black professional, professional speaker and consultant, I work in a corporate setting a lot, and I get to be in front of many different audiences. And what I learned is I had experiences where I can do a presentation and interact and operate in my presentation with individuals that are white specifically. And once I'm done with that presentation, I can go back to my hotel room, change, put on some casual clothes, and I'm walking down the street and I'm approaching some of the same individuals I just presented in front of, and they may move a little further away from me on the sidewalk. And once they recognize it's me, then they feel less threatened, and then you can tell their whole demeanor changes and it tones down, and they're no longer threatened. But I think that just from a visual, that imagery, when you see a black man walking towards you down the street, automatically, because subconsciously we see all these images all the time, it just automatically happens. I clutch my purse, or I step over to the side, or I feel threatened.
Do you think racism exists in America?
Racism totally exists in America. It's people who operate out of pure ugliness and hate, and I think that will always be a part of some people's heart. I think what we're talking about now is totally different than just pure racism. I think part of the comments that people made about Richard Sherman were racist, and it was clear. But I think the other part of it is we kind of see how people judge us because that mental image that they have, right? They see negative things when it comes to young black men. So immediately when they see a young black man that looks a certain way or sounds a certain way, or sometimes they don't even have to look a certain way, right? They don't have to have dreadlocks, or they don't have to have facial hair, but that image is locked in their minds and connected to a negative act or event. And when you see that, you can tell that, okay, I'm walking down the street and someone moves and they don't even know me. They don't know who I am. This really doesn't have a lot to do with racism more than it has to do with the image that they have locked in their mind. Here's what I know. America needs to see more young black males like Richard Sherman, that look like Richard Sherman, that has the credentials of Richard Sherman. America needs to see that on a consistent basis, because we're seeing all the negative that comes with being a young black man on a consistent basis. And this is the only way that we can change this imagery, by showing all the great things that young black men are doing that look like this, that talk like this, that came from these different neighborhoods, that are doing great positive things. Because this changes the imagery. Now we no longer can have this negativity connected with this image. But America needs to change the image of how they see young black men. And I think Richard Sherman is a great example, a wonderful example of how young black males should be, should behave, and should conduct themselves in America.